Hi, I'm Charles Gorra, founder CEO of Rebag.com. As you know, we're an omni-channel retailer in the US for luxury resale bags and accessories. We're here today to talk about our first Clair Report. As you may know, Clair is a software we launched about a year ago. It stands for Comprehensive Luxury Appraisal Index for Resale. And what it does is that you can query, a brand, a designer, a model, a style, and we'll give you instantly the value and the resale price that we're willing to pay. So in order to assess the value of brands in the resale market, we look at a ratio that's the market value on the resale market divided by the retail price. In other words, if you bought a bag for $1,000 in a store or online, and today it resells in the resale market for $600, that ratio is 60%. Now, the higher that ratio, the higher the desirability of that brand in the resale market. So not too surprisingly, you'll see in this chart that Hermes is in a world of its own, right? Currently, Hermes bag trade around 80%. Right after that, you will see Louis Vuitton and Chanel. Currently, they're at 63% for handbags. Two big winners this year, Dior, that's now trading at 56%. That's a very big 13 points increase from last year. And you will see as well Bottega Veneta, that's now at 38%. Again, that's a 10% increase from last year. This year, there are two big winners, Bottega and Dior. Now, let's start with Bottega. As you know, new creative director, Daniel Lee, was appointed back in July 2018, and he made a superb impact on the brand. The latest collection items of Bottega trade at 83% of their market value. So if you want to buy a pouch, for instance, of a Jody Hobo, you're talking low 80s. Now, that's very, very, very high compared to the former collections. If you think about some of the old hobos in particular, or the old cabatos, they trade in the low 30s. Similar story a little bit with Dior. The Dior new collection trades at 92%. Right, so this is absolutely mind-blowing. If you look at, in particular, some of the saddle bags, they're now upper 80s, including the vintage saddle bags. The trend around Dior has to do a lot with the vintage trend. Obviously, the designer Maria Grazia Chiuri was there for now the last 4 years, but really the turning point there was in the mid-2018 with the reissue of the vintage bags. And again, be very careful of the older Dior collection, things like the Diorissimo or the Dior, which there you're in the low 40s. So again, very different price point. There are many factors that affect the resale value of an item. Okay, I can start right there and tell you one that has no impact. That's the retail price. Now, I understand for consumers, that's what we always remember. That's how much we paid in a store. Unfortunately, in the same way that you can list your car at any price, you can list your apartment at any price, that doesn't really necessarily mirror the value in the resale market. That underlying value is based on other factors, most importantly, how much consumers are willing to spend, how much are consumers fighting to procure that item in the resale market. Now, we can take a few examples. For instance, the Eva bag by Louis Vuitton. That bag was produced in the early 2000s, and it got discontinued in 2014. Now, since then, and very recently, the value totally skyrocketed. It currently trades almost at 2 times its last available retail price. And a lot of that is, part of it is the discontinuation, part of that is because it's also hitting a master trend around mini bags. We can look at another example in the Chanel world. I'm sure, as we discussed earlier, everyone knows Chanel bag have very high resale value. We can look, for instance, at the Chanel Classic Double Flap. As an example, it's a kilted small caviar version. Historically, earlier this year, it traded around 90% of its retail price. Now, very interestingly, in Q2 of this year, you may know that Chanel pushed some price increases in America as well as in Europe. For instance, this specific model its retail price increased by 11%. And if you look at the evolution of the resale value in that same time frame, you will see it pretty much follows the same curve. Actually, it's even slightly faster than the evolution of the retail price, which means that today that same bag trades almost at 100% of its retail price. Now I know that's a ton of data, and we all need to digest it. So this is why we're launching today a new feature as part of our Clair software suite that we call historical price tracking. Now you can go on rebag.com on the app and you can now follow a Clair code. And then you will see in your profile for each Clair code a historical evolution of the market resale value of that item over time. And we'll also make recommendations on whether to buy, whether to sell or not, and we'll even send you notification when there's a price change. Earlier this year in June, we launched a new category called accessories. And today we're happy to share some insights. In terms of what items preserve value most, things like pouches, key holders, card holders, these are actually usually over 90% of their value. When you look at the wallet category, one of the reasons I find this very interesting is because it's one of the only categories where the big top 3 brands are actually not winning. So Hermès, Louis Vuitton and Chanel are actually topped in the wallet category by a few other brands. In particular, Dior and Saint Laurent that are over 75% of the resale value. There's a lot to choose from, obviously, but we'd like to pick 3 that we want to highlight today. One is the Eveline by Hermès, in particular its TPM version, which is Très Petit Modèle. The second one we want to highlight is the On The Go Tote by Louis Vuitton. This bag is fairly new, started to be issued earlier this year. And of course, we'll choose a third one from the Chanel world, the single classic flap in its caviar version. Preferably the mini here, because again, that speaks to this very specific mini trend. When it comes to accessories, obviously the same patterns apply. We'll make 3 recommendations here. The first one we want to highlight is the Dior, especially the saddle wallets. These have seen pretty steep increases again earlier this year, over 30%. The second one is a Saint Laurent card holder that we want to recommend here that trades about almost 70% of its value. Again, very recognizable pattern, very slick, fairly tight unit. And then finally, we're showcasing here a belt by Gucci in its marmot style. This is also very desirable, very thin, slick and visible logo. Well, that's it for the Clair Report today. Thanks so much for watching. Please review the whole Clair Report on rebag.com/Clair Report. See you soon on Rebag.